ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Lex's Complex. We are now in episode number 4. Wow, the hottest rated show in the OEW, next to Ascension. And my special guest today here on the program, I have the former 5-time OEW Women's Champion, Nina Prater. Nina, welcome to the program.
Lex, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. So, I'm going to start heavy with the questions, all right? So, my first question right now is you were gone from SL Wrestling for a good while. Nobody had seen you, nobody had heard your name. Why all of a sudden you felt the need to come back?
Well, Lex, I thought that I really could use a little bit more family in my life.
Okay.
When I came back,
Mm-hmm.
that was the first thing I wanted the fans to know from not just OEW, but
Mm-hmm.
all across Second Life that I'm back to get that better sense of family that I had lost. And I had plenty of loss away from wrestling, and that included family members. And this was the last place that I could remember that a family could grow.
So, let me ask you this, Nina. So, when was the last time you were in the OEW? Do you remember the year?
I do. A lot of things happened that year. That was 2013.
Okay. So it's literally 10 years that you've been away from the OEW. Have you noticed any changes from the 2013 OEW to the 2023 OEW?
Yeah, I have noticed some changes, and it's not as superficial as where the arena is or who's wrestling in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a different air about Second Life Wrestling right now, and it's a unique flavor to each one of the promotions. And OEW's got
Mm-hmm.
that flavor that not just a family being able to grow, but there's a different sense of competition here now. And I'm not going to say that back then I wasn't challenged or we weren't challenged as Vixens,
Mm-hmm.
but um, the competition, the spirit of it here, it's I don't know if I can put it into words, but
Right.
I gotta say that I'm happy to be around it. And I'm just happy to be around it again.
Well, that's good. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people right now watching this program, and people that have been tuning in to Ascension these last couple of weeks are definitely very happy that you're back. I mean, I remember being on commentary 2 weeks ago when you actually made your official debut in the OEW, and the fans in the audience were standing. It was a very nostalgic moment for OEW to have you back. Nobody would ever think in a million years, oh wow, Nina Prater is back in the OEW and she's headlining, a main event. A lot of people were definitely very surprised to see you, myself included. But so let's talk about your championship reign previously. So I'm looking at my notes here, and like I opened up earlier in the show, you were a 5-time OEW Women's Champion, and I believe the title at the time when the OEW was big, back between 2010 and 2013, was the Vixens Championship belt. Am I correct?
You were right.
Now, going into the archives, you had a lot of wars with the former vice president of the OEW, Tiesa Pierce, the badass bitch. Tell me a little bit more about that rivalry between the two of you.
That rivalry, I found out, is still going strong to this day, and I didn't expect that to be the case. But back in 2013, um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the rivalry had cooled. I mean, I
Right.
think it never cooled once it really got going. I mean, when I would stand across from her in the ring, it just brought the temperature of that rivalry higher, and it never plateaued. I mean, it always grew. We could just be in the same building and it would grow.
So the tension was high between the two of you.
Very, very high.
And let me ask you this: what is it that you don't like about Tiesa Pierce?
Well, first, let me say that I respect her as
Okay.
a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
She probably doesn't even like being called that, but I do. But the what always got to me about her, just really got under my skin, and sometimes I even feel like I'm feeling it right now, was just the disrespect of me, not just as a wrestlerette, but also as just a person, just a living, breathing person from Texas. I mean, that was like her big thing. She would always make those points. Because you're from Texas, I hate you because, or, just the way that she would speak about where I was from, the family that I came from, sometimes even my own family members who were in the business at the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that disrespect is what really got me going, and um, it became such a, um, I think the word would be Pavlovian response to
Mm-hmm.
just seeing her face. She doesn't even have to smile smugly anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I would just feel that burning in me. It's like, I want to fight you.
Right. Right. Well, Tiesa is definitely a very tough cookie, but right now she's got a lot of problems with the current VP of Operations, Paul Slater. But let's talk a little bit about the women's division, shall we? So, as you know, Honey Potts is now the reigning OEW Women's Champion, and I don't know if you are aware, but she won the title at the OEW Winter Invitational, which was created by the genius mind of Paul Slater. You had a bunch of competitors participated in a rumble, and the last two remaining ended up in a steel cage, Hell in a Cell, for the women's championship belt. Did you have an opportunity to watch that match, Nina?
I had an opportunity to watch that one, and I also was watching through the miracle of YouTube the programs leading up to that, and to her being announced as being an entrant into that whole thing. I mean, I was glued to my TV watching,
Mm-hmm.
not just what was going on at OEW and in the other promotions, but what stuck with me was what was happening here. And
Mm-hmm.
when I saw them come down one by one, and just the way Honey carried herself, I wasn't surprised that she was one of the two women that was locked inside that cell.
Yeah, it was definitely a very special day for Honey Potts, and not to mention the fact that BCW's own Leah Duffield was the mystery. She was a mystery opponent in that match, and the two of them went at it. And I had Honey here on the program a couple weeks ago, And we talked about that. She had never worked with Leah before, and that it was definitely, something that she really, enjoyed. But, in that conversation that I had with her, we brought you up in the conversation, and I'm sure you watched, my interview with Honey, and Honey is not concerned about you at all. She is the women's champion, and she claims that she's going to keep that belt. And she does not care whether you're a legend or not. So, what do you have to say to somebody like that doesn't respect a legend and is confident in herself that she can beat you? What do you have to say about that, Nina?
Well, let me just say that this is the exact spirit of competition that I was mentioning when you asked me what is it about the OEW that feels different between 2013 and now. I mean, that is embodied in Honey Potts.
Wow.
And I don't put a lot of stock in the word being legend, a legend being applied to me.
Okay.
I never wanted to be known to people like Honey as a legend. I wanted to be known as a competitor. Now, I get why she doesn't respect a legend label or a legend status. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in OEW, and there were legends who passed through here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they be guests at commentary or even guests in the ring or even did a run, a championship run.
Right. Right.
I mean, I didn't look at them different because they were legends. But I sure felt different when they were in the ring with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could feel the competition in every single hole that I would be put in or whatever. But when Honey has the level of disrespect beyond a legend label, and it's more of a it's not even a criticism, it's harsher than that. It's more like a disdain just for me being around. That's where I think her and I have an issue, and that goes all the way back to what happened 2 weeks ago. That was not about a legend coming back for a main event. That was about interfering in a competition between myself and an up-and-comer Jamila, who probably couldn't care less that I was a legend or whatever.
Right. Well, I mean, it's funny that you bring that up. Let's talk about that match because, I was there at commentary, and, one of the things that was brought up in conversation was ring rust. I believe, and I'm looking at my notes right now, you were actually involved with SL Wrestling or professional wrestling for a little while after the OEW closed its doors in 2013. And I believe you worked in a couple other promotions. And then you were gone for about maybe 6 to 7 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. So a lot of the conversation that me and my colleague at the time on the broadcast booth, we mentioned about ring rust. And, Jamila has been around now for at least the last couple of years actively training. We don't know your situation. So there was a lot of concern when you went into that match that your ring rust was going to pretty much be a key factor. And again, it's one of those circumstances that you just blew us out of the water. It was like I felt like I was watching Nina Prater 2010 back in 2023. It was just amazing how the way that you were able to move around. You didn't lose your agility, your endurance. You were like in control, and not taking any credit away from your opponent, she was working very good. I mean, she was a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful, and you just took it. I mean, how did you how did you prepare for such a match like this?
Prepared for Jamila was, I think that's where I had the most ring rust come about, was thinking about how am I going to get back into this. It wasn't the fact of doing it physically. It was mentally, what do I have to do prepare for someone that I've never seen before in a ring. Like I've never been in the same ring with her is what I mean by seen. Because I saw what she did back at the invitation. And what she did was that took guts. I think if you have the guts to get in there, you have the guts to move. And if one thing I learned from that match with Jamila before it was interfered with was
Hmm.
that woman, she can fly. And I did not expect that. I mean, there was no way for me to mentally prepare for a woman of her stature to fly. And that was the hardest part in getting ready for Jamila was what do I get ready for? And you saw it 2 weeks ago. I was only able to try for one pinfall attempt, and she got 3 attempts on me. I mean,
Yeah.
that that was that was a mental jarring for sure. But physically, I knew that I could bounce back from each one of those attempts. But I didn't know what was coming next. Uh,
Well,
but yeah, that's how I prepared.
let's talk about what happened next. So, I'm sitting there at commentary with Honey Potts, who took very special interest in your match, and all of a sudden she leaves me and my partner at the table. She wants to get a closer look at you guys in the match, which okay, fair enough. She wants to get Nina Prater. There's a lot of hype. Your name has a lot of prestige, so she wants to come up to ringside to take a closer look, and gets involved in the match. She ends up shaking Bill's hand, which I don't even know if Bill was drunk or not that day. He didn't even realize it. Next thing you go for that pin, and I'm sorry. It's I know I look. I know it's questionable and it's unethical, but I've had problems with Bill in the past. Okay, Bill and I, we were in a match, and I'm not going to talk about it. That's all you need to know. We were in a match, and I hate his guts. But anyway, so he puts his hand on the mat, and his hand is literally glued to the mat in the middle of your match. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. In the years of covering wrestling, how do you respond to like a situation like that? Do you and do you feel that this was Honey's attempt to launch her first strike against you?
I didn't know what to think in the moment, and even 2 weeks removed from the match, I still don't find any of that funny. And I mean, I know that it's your show. I don't want to disrespect you, but I did not find any of what Honey did amusing. It's
Okay,
one thing to go at commentary and speak your mind because I mean that's why you're there.
right.
But if she was just going to walk by the ring apron, do laps, whatever, watching me take on Jamila,
Mm-hmm.
then that would have been no distraction. But obviously, she distracted me, and there was this there was this fire inside of me as soon as I realized what was happening, and that same feeling, that same ugliness
Mm-hmm.
that I would feel from Tia's peers way back when,
Mm-hmm.
it was now coming from the current champion. I locked eyes with her, and I blew it. I mean, I blew my stack. I mean, you all saw it.
Right.
I didn't know what else to do. I mean, it didn't occur to me like Bill still has a mouth. Bill can still signal to the timekeeper, ring the bell. We have a decision. But what snapped me out of it was Jamila hitting me from behind and hearing the champion laugh at it.
Right. Wow. Wow. So, but let's be real here for just a second, shall we? You've been involved in professional wrestling for a long time, probably just as long as me. I mean, I left for a little while. I took a 6, 7, 8 year hiatus, whatever you want to call it. But I understand the business. I understand what professional wrestling's all about. You had to expect that something like this was going to happen. I mean, you have a reputation. Everybody knows you. You were one of the OEW originals. You've held championships here. So you kind of had to expect this from happening because, again, if you watch the interview that I had with Honey is very protective over that championship now. And you saw that she opened a challenge to anyone. She dares anyone to come at her, to come and take her belt. So you kind of had to expect this, Nina. Come on, you've been involved in the business for a long time. You had to kind of know that something like this was going to end up happening.
No, I did not expect this to happen. I did not expect our champion, and I do mean our champion because I work here now. I did not expect our champion to put glue on a referee's hands, affect the outcome, potentially, find it funny, and then backpedal when I still managed to pull out the win. I did not see that coming. But I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
His life right now as a professional wrestler in this company is all about the gold.
Okay, and what are you for? Being a professional wrestler in this company now. Nina, I'm having some audio. You're having some audio difficulties there. I can't hear you. Nina, it looks like our looks like it's not working. Our audio is not working. Can somebody check her mic, please? Can somebody check her mic? Come on now. Wow. Wow, I can't believe this. Cut, cut, cut. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Lex Complex. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of audio difficulties with Nina's mic, but Nina, can you hear me now?
I can hear you just fine.
All right, perfect. So let's go back to what we were just talking about. Do you with Honey's involvement in your match? I believe you were starting to say something, and the audio difficulties happened.
Yes, I was trying to say what distinguishes me from the current champion, Honey Potts.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what distinguishes me from her. She is about the goal that she has legitimately won in the Invitational. I
Right.
respect that. What I don't respect is the the lengths that she is willing to go to keep that. Now I've seen her talk about her being trodden underfoot, being treated poorly,
Mm-hmm.
and not getting the returns that she would like for her efforts.
Right. Yes, she did mention that.
And when I hear her say that, it just burns me just like Tiaza used to and still does, because that's precisely what she did
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago to somebody else. It doesn't matter if it's Nina Prater. She could have done it to Jamila.
Right.
That was still mistreatment to keep what you have from somebody else. OEW was never about that. OEW was about competition.
Mm-hmm.
Back then and now.
Mm-hmm.
It is not about disrespecting someone to win a match. And that's never how you win a title.
Right.
I mean, Bill's not going to raise your hand because you managed to disrespect the other person more. And that's never going to happen in this company. It's not going to happen in any company. So that's what she's about. She's about keeping that gold no matter what. Well, I'm about keeping family no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything I learned in the last 6 years, it's keeping family is the most important thing. That's why I'm back. And that's what I intend to do as long as I'm here, is keeping my family closer to me. Because being away, Lex,
Mm-hmm.
that nearly tore me apart. But honey can never take that. But somebody, whether it's me, Jamila, or any of the other girls that I see in the locker room who haven't looked for new ways to disrespect someone, they're coming for that belt, and somebody's going to get it.
So let's be real here for just a second. So so all the idiots out there that are watching this, so they get the real deal here. So what you're trying to say is that you feel that Honey was disrespectful towards you. That's what you're trying to say?
I'm seeing a little bit more than that, and it wasn't just me. Because OEW was never just about one person.
Okay.
I'm saying that if she's willing to do that to somebody like me, not because I'm some legend, but I am a former champion here.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to either ruin the career of someone who's starting or chase away someone who is looking to put their application in that box out front.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I won't let go.
So you keep mentioning that OEW, you feel a sense of family with the OEW. Can you give me a little bit more detail, to especially to the people that are watching? What kind of sense of family do you feel?
That sense of family that I feel,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know uh, that feeling that you get when you come through the curtain, and win or lose,
Mm-hmm.
the first eyes that you see going through that curtain, it's not some producer, it's not some showrunner. It's not someone that's operating pyro. It's other wrestlers. It's other wrestlerettes.
Mm-hmm.
They look at you. They lock eyes with you. Just sometimes it's only for a second, and it's in that. And I felt it so many times in my career. And believe it or not, even 2 weeks ago, I felt it again coming through that curtain, where I locked eyes with somebody, and I won't mention who because I don't think they're going to even admit it, but I felt like I belonged with that one glance that I got. You don't get that just anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not about to go look for it somewhere else. Not anymore.
Right.
I found it 2 weeks ago, and I want to keep it. And if there's, if that's the best way that I can describe it to you is as simple as a look, and sometimes it's more than that, but it starts with a look.
Right. All right, Nina. Well, we're getting a little bit pressed for time here. So, two things I want to ask you. So, you've been here now for at least a couple weeks, and I don't know if you are aware, but when the OEW returned back in 2021, it took us a good while to bring back the women's division here in the OEW. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen a lot of ladies now here in the OEW, and it's a great feeling to have a women's division again, just like it was back in 2010, 11, and 12. We have a lot of women from different areas, different parts of the country, different parts of the world. Besides Honey Potts, you have Moma T, you have Jamila, who you faced. We have Volcano, who has been signed with the OEW but is lurking. We have Alexa, Alexa Camino, who you will be facing this upcoming Sunday. So and almost forgot, Abigail, the drunken pirate. What do you got to say to these women as you're coming in, making your return? Do you feel a little bit threatened by them? Do you feel, a sense of connection? Like, how do you feel like coming in here and this whole new generation of ladies now in the squared circle?
You know about them, and you gotta admit that it is for lack of a better word, a trip to be asked a question like, well, how do you feel about the next generation? And you you have to think back, like, well, what did they think about me when I first showed up? What did the legends and professionals, the true professionals, what did they think?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a trip just being asked that question. um, um, I guess, again, I'm not going to say their name, this person that I locked eyes with, but I think that feeling that I had, besides that sense of family that I was talking about, um, that same feeling I could apply to all of these chickies. And then I just let me explain chickies just for 1 second.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you
That
brought
is
that
not.
up. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
no, it's okay. Go ahead. I'm glad you brought it up. This is why this program's all about. Go ahead.
When I refer to fellow wrestlers as chickies
Mm-hmm.
and the guys as gents, that is just a common term from where I'm from. It's it kind of functions as an icebreaker, kind of like, it's okay, you can let your guard around me, you're going to be safe if you talk to me. Um, you can tell me how your day is, or you can tell me something deep if you want. I mean, I'm open like that. And
Hmm.
when I refer to the vixens as chickies, I see that as me telling them I'm I feel equal to you. You shouldn't feel less than me, and that's what I want to. That's kind of like one of the things I want to convey to them. Alexia, Baltino, Jamila, Mama T, all of them.
Hmm.
I'm uh, I'm on the level with you. I'm not putting myself above you. I don't think of you as being beneath me. I mean, when I call them chickies, that's what I'm saying.
Right. It's almost like a term of endearment that you have.
It's a term of endearment for a stranger, yeah.
Hmm. Okay. All right, Nina. Well, last question. What do you got to say to the women on the roster right now? What do you want to say to them before we end this?
I'll say this. Um, uh, don't look at me across the ring as someone who is out to hurt you. I can put on some serious holds from the school of Zane, but I am not out to hurt you. This is a competition. OEW is a place where you compete. And it's it's not exactly every woman for themselves, but if you are in the ring to hurt me, I am going to meet you in kind, and that doesn't just go
Hmm.
to the girls that you. That also goes to honeypots. Disrespect is only the beginning, and if you want to take it to the next step, honey, I am going to meet you and then some. And then you are going to learn that this place is not just about gold. It's not just about family. It's about being professional. And that's what that's saying.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it. OEW women's roster. Nina has made her statement now to the public. It is official. She's here for competition with a sense of family values here in the OEW. She is the face of Lace. She is the former 5-time OEW Vixens women's champion, Nina Prater. Nina, thank you so much for joining us.